What if the story the West tells about China's rise is, well, just plain wrong? Today, we're jumping into a really fiery debate. It features a Hong Kong business mogul who takes the Western narrative and just turns it completely on its head, giving us an insider's view you really don't hear every day.
So let's just start with a statement from business leader Ronnie Chan that's pretty shocking. And it's meant to be. He's using this raw, provocative language to frame the whole discussion around this feeling of being backed into a corner. It really sets the stage for a totally unfiltered and intense exchange about power, perception, and, well, national survival.
So, our goal here is just to lay out the key arguments from this exchange as neutrally as we can. We're not here to pick a winner or take sides. We're just here to unpack an insider's perspective on global politics that you just don't get to see on this kind of unfiltered platform very often. Okay, so the debate kicks off with a question that gets right to the heart of a lot of Western anxieties. This idea that under Xi Jinping, China has suddenly developed some kind of new political ambition.
And Chan gets pressed on this immediately. The hosts basically ask him, hey, do you agree that China's incredible economic boom has come with this new and, frankly, concerning political ambition on the world stage?
But Chan, he just completely reframes the entire question. From his point of view, this isn't some new ambition at all. No. He says it's just an inevitable return to where China has historically always been in the world. And he grounds his entire argument in this huge, sweeping timeline. His point is pretty simple. How could a couple of 100 years of decline, which for him is just a blip on the historical radar, erase 3,000 years of being at the forefront of civilization? For him, what's happening today isn't new. It's just China getting back on track. And this leads to his main point on this topic: you can't separate economics from politics. It's just not possible. As a country's economy gets bigger and bigger, its political power has to grow to protect those economic interests. And his message to the West? It's pretty blunt. Get used to it.
So this idea of protecting your interests, that naturally leads to the next major point of friction in this debate, the perception of China's military aggression, especially in the South China Sea.
The hosts go right at him on this. They point to China's massive naval expansion, the fact they're building bases on artificial islands, and they see these as clear signs of a new, aggressive attitude. To explain why China feels it needs a strong navy, he uses a really simple but pretty powerful analogy. He asks, if a Chinese oil tanker gets attacked by Somali pirates, like in the movie Captain Phillips, who are they supposed to call for help? The U.S. Navy? And then he points to a very specific moment in time, the 1996 Taiwan Strait crisis. He says when the U.S. sailed 2 aircraft carrier groups right through the strait, it was a massive wake-up call for China's leaders. It was this stark reminder of just how vulnerable their interests really were.
So with that context, Chan just flips the whole accusation on its head. He argues that China's military buildup isn't aggression at all, not even close. He frames it as a purely defensive response to what he sees as a decades-long American policy of trying to contain China.
So from there, the conversation kind of shifts gears. It moves away from hard power, like military strength, and into the realm of soft power. The new focus is all about global responsibility and whether China aligns with so-called Western values. So when the journalists start pressing him about China's commitment to shared values and human rights, Chan basically challenges the whole premise of the question. He kind of holds up a mirror and points to the West's own history, colonialism, environmental damage, as to why he's pretty skeptical of anyone claiming the moral high ground. And on the specific topic of taking in refugees, he doesn't make any promises about the future. Instead, he goes straight to the past, giving these historical examples where China actually provided a safe haven for people that other nations, including Western ones, were turning away. He uses another great analogy to explain his point about China's sheer size and impact. He compares China to the basketball player Yao Ming, who was 7'6". Just by walking into a room, Yao Ming changes everything, whether he means to or not. Chan says China is the same way. Its scale is so immense that its very presence just reshapes the world. So he sums up what he sees as China's modern-day catch-22. If China doesn't act on the world stage, it gets criticized for not being a responsible global power. But if it does act, its motives are immediately questioned. He just calls it a no-win situation. So what's the big takeaway from this whole intense back and forth? Well, it really boils down to a fundamental challenge: to rethink the entire global narrative we've been told.
At the end of the day, Chan's argument is basically a call for a dose of political realism. He's saying the world needs to grow up and accept a powerful China that will, just like every other major nation in history, act to protect its own interests first.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the whole debate kind of turns the camera back on us. The real point here isn't just to listen to Ronnie Chan, it's to use his perspective to start questioning our own. And these are the big questions we're left with. Are we willing to look past a single, comfortable story? Can we really separate facts from the narratives we're constantly fed? And maybe the biggest question of all, can we ever truly understand a global power like China without actively seeking out these kinds of uncomfortable insider perspectives? The answer might just shape the next 100 years.